दर्श्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मायं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुन् श्रीयुतापदकमलम् श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातम् सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं साद्वैतं स्वावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपीश गोपिका कान्ता राधाकान्ता नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिये। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna, Shashwat. Thank you very much for the wonderful Mangalacharan recital. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandvat Pranam. Please accept our humble obeisances, Prabhuji. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna, Kirtika, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna to everyone here. Please accept my humble obeisances and all glories to Srila Prabhupada. And please accept my humble apologies. I realize I'm 5 minutes late. I've got my laptop is a bit funny. It's got a personality of its own. So it takes its own time. ISKCON time, sometimes even worse than ISKCON time to put up. So please forgive me. I'm 5 minutes late. So, but hopefully we can make the best of this session whilst we're on together now.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, thank you very much. We did not waste our time. So when we start exactly on time, we start with the Mangalacharan, Prabhuji. So we've just finished reciting the Mangalacharan, and Shashwin, who is a 7-year-old among our group, recited for us, and we've just finished that. Prabhuji, before we start, I would like to introduce you and let you know that the session is being recorded. If you don't mind, we have a YouTube link and we put it on the YouTube link so that other devotees from our group, not everybody can join in. We have around 50 devotees, but all of them don't come at the same time. They'll have a look at it later on. So is that okay, Prabhuji? If not, then I stop recording.
No, that's absolutely fine.
Okay, Prabhuji, and I'll send you the link as well so that you can see the other, what happened today again, if you wanted to, and the other speakers that we have.
Yes, sure.
Okay, so without much ado, Prabhuji, first I'd like to introduce Mansi Ganga Mataji and Path Prema Prabhuji, who are on this group, and they are our mentors. Eldoret is a very, very small town, and our center is just very new. We are still in our infant stage, and they have been our inspiration. We all are novices here, Prabhuji. So Mansi Ganga Mataji, if you can, is it possible for you to turn your video so Prabhuji can see you as well? And then we have ISKCON Eldoret, the center as well, where all the Prabhus who are in training at the Bhakti Center have joined us as well. ISKCON Eldoret, just a minute so that Prabhuji can see you all. If you can turn your video and then switch it off. Prabhuji, we have a problem with bandwidth in Eldoret, so we will not be on video all the time. However, I will be on video all the time. Hare Krishna.
I'll come a little later. Eldoret group, they are there, but just a slight hitch there, but they'll come. They'll probably show themselves.
Okay.
Hi, Bol Prabhu. This is Mansi Ganga.
Hare Krishna. You can switch off your videos if your bandwidth is not supporting.
Thank you.
Okay, let me introduce Prabhuji. We are very fortunate to have among us Niskincana Das Prabhuji, and he's coming to us all the way from Bhaktivedanta Manor in the UK. And we are so fortunate. I mean, look at this. This is the real mercy that we are experiencing here. Prabhuji is from a Hindu Bengali family, but in South London.
I put it full.
And kindly unmute, please. Kindly unmute so that we all benefit. Sorry, Prabhuji. So Prabhuji comes from London, South London, and like the modern youth and like all of us, he had many questions as he was growing up upon on our true identity and where we are coming from and where we are going and what's the purpose of life. And after much grappling with these questions and being preoccupied with it, he came across our Srila Prabhupada, the founder of our ISKCON movement, his teachings, and he was so impressed. And he then served as a monk for the last 10 years at the manor. And Prabhuji has seen how Krishna consciousness way of living can truly benefit people in all facets of existence, from social, political, emotional, and psychological, and of course, spiritual level. So Prabhuji, through the School of Bhakti, which is it has very good programs. If you can Google School of Bhakti at the Manor, you'll see all the activities that they are doing, from yoga to lots of other activities. His focus is to build up and bring the magic of Krishna consciousness education into people's life, making it more relevant, making it more contemporary. That is his aim, and that's what we want. He's also a mature stage actor and loves entertaining people with Krishna conscious drama. So I don't want to waste any more of Prabhuji's time. So that was just a very, very brief introduction, but because he's coming to our group for the first time, I thought it was necessary. So Prabhuji, on behalf of everybody on this group and the ones who will still see this YouTube video, I offer our humble obeisances to you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, we are reading the Bhagavad Gita as it is. We are on chapter 13. Chapter 13 is called the nature, the enjoyer, and the consciousness. And Prabhuji, we've been reading a text every day since lockdown, since May last year, and we haven't stopped a single day, Saturday, Sundays, every day. So Prabhuji, today we have reached text 23 of the chapter 13. And usually, Prabhuji, we read the Sanskrit, we read the word-to-word translation and purport. But today, we will hand over to you, and you can ask us to do whatever you want us to, or you can read. If you want, we can read for you as well, Prabhuji. Over to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. It's a great honor and privilege to be connecting with you all. It's so nice to see that Prabhupada's family is spreading, and well, it's spreading and is already there in so many parts of the world. Often what happens is we're very much in our own, corners of our areas in the world where we're very much involved in our own kind of like devotee relationships. But it's nice to see devotees in Kenya and everywhere around the world who are also doing the same thing as us, trying to help each other go back to Godhead, back to Krishna. So it's a really nice privilege. I was saying to Kirtika Mataji yesterday that in the future, as Mataji mentioned, I'm part of a department at the manor called School of Bhakti. And, main thing is to kind of oversee the courses and cultivation that we do. And one of the things we do is retreats. And definitely in the future, we want to do a retreat to Kenya, and actually do like a circuit around the areas like Nairobi, Mombasa. We were thinking Kisumu, and then Mataji said yesterday that actually you should definitely include Eldoret in that, because I think Prabhupada had some connection with Eldoret as well, if I'm not mistaken. So let's see, by Krishna's grace, it would be nice to actually do something like that where we can see each other face to face as well. So, but for now, let's do a bit of discussion on the Bhagavad Gita. Mataji, I was going to ask you, right? So because you mentioned that you guys go through the verse, the translation, and the purport, so I've got it here on a page. If you gonna get me to share the screen, I can pull it up, and then we can get maybe one devotee to read the verse and another devotee to read the word for word, or however you want. Yeah. So okay, if you want to make me co-host, do you know how to do that, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, I've given you the share screen rights, Prabhuji.
Okay, wonderful. Right, so right, can you see the page, Bhagavad Gita 13:23?
Yes, Prabhuji, we can.
Okay, wonderful. So what I can do, I can do the Sanskrit verse, and then we can have, Shashwin has already sung the Jai Radha Madhav, isn't it? So
yes, Prabhuji, he can even do the Sanskrit shloka. In fact, he's our engine. He pronounces so well, and we learn from him. So if you want, he can do the Sanskrit shloka as well for us.
Wonderful. So let Shashwin Prabhu, he can do the Sanskrit shloka and the word forward. And I can see some, there's some devotees here from ISKCON Eldoret. I don't know if they're our bhaktas or brahmacharis from the temple, but maybe one of them can read the translation. Is that okay? Prabhuji's from the ISKCON Eldoret, yeah? Jay, okay, I can see you, yeah, wonderful. So maybe one of you can read the translation and another one can maybe even read the purport, if that's okay? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So we got that sorted. Before we start, if I may just do just 1 minute, I'm just going to do the Mangalacharan prayers. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhye Bacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnanebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki Jai. Jai, thank you. So, Shashwin Prabhu, over to you.
Hare Krishna. Upadrastanumantacha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara Paramatmedi Chopyukto Dehesmin Purusho Para. Hare Krishna.
Jai, thank you so much, Shashwin Prabhu. Wonderfully recited there. Prabhuji, do you want to do the word for word now?
Prabhuji, ISKCON Eldoret can take over word to word and translation.
Sure, go for it, go for it.
George Prabhuji from ISKCON Eldoret, or Prabhuji who's near. Can you do word to word, please, Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna.
Jai, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Ya
Upadrashta, Prabhuji.
Upadrishta
Upadrishta,
Oversee
overseer.
Anumanta
Anumanta,
Perimeter.
Ja
also
Also.
Bharta
Bharta,
Master
Master.
Bhokta
Bhokta,
Supreme Enjoyer
Supreme
Enjoyer.
Maheshwara
Ishvara.
Supreme Lord
the Supreme
Supreme
Lord,
Lord.
Paramatma
Paramatma,
the Super Soul
the Super
Super
Soul,
Soul.
Iti
Iti,
also
Also.
Ja
Cha,
and
and
Api
Api, indeed.
Gupta
Yukta
is saved.
is said.
Saved.
The hair
Dehe,
in the body
the
The
body,
body
has been
as
has been
this
this,
This.
Purushaha
Purusha,
enjoy
the enjoyer,
enjoyer.
Paraha
Paraha,
transcendental
transcendental.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Another Prabhuji, kindly do the translation.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yet in the body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the super soul. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, back to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Shashwin Prabhu. And thank you, the brahmacharis from the ISKCON Eldoret Temple. Thank you for the recitation there. Okay, so I'll do the purport and then you can follow with me. Purport. It is stated here that the super soul, who is always with the individual soul, is the representation of the Supreme Lord. He is not an ordinary living entity. Because the monist philosophers take the knower of the body to be one, they think that there is no difference between the super soul and the individual soul. To clarify this, the Lord says that he is represented as the Paramatma in every body. He is different from the individual soul. He is para, transcendental. The individual soul enjoys the activities of a particular field, but the super soul is present not as finite enjoyer, nor as one taking part in bodily activities, but as the witness, overseer, permitter, and supreme enjoyer. His name is Paramatma, not Atma, and he is transcendental. It is distinctly clear that the Atma and Paramatma are different. The super soul, the Paramatma, has legs and hands everywhere, but the individual soul does not. And because the Paramatma is a supreme Lord, He is present within to sanction the individual soul's desiring material enjoyment. Without the sanction for those who may seek clarification means permission. Without the sanction of the Supreme Soul, the individual soul cannot do anything. The individual soul is bhukta, or the sustained, and the Lord is bhokta, or the maintainer. There are innumerable living entities, and he is staying in them as a friend. The fact is that every individual living entity is eternally part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and both of them are very intimately related as friends. But the living entity has a tendency to reject the sanction of the Supreme Lord and act independently in an attempt to dominate nature. And because he has this tendency, he is called the marginal energy of the Supreme Lord. The living entity can be situated either in the material energy or in the spiritual energy. As long as he is conditioned by the material energy, the Supreme Lord, as his friend, the Super Soul, stays with him just to get him to return to the spiritual energy. The Lord is always eager to take him back to the spiritual energy, but due to his minute independence, the individual entity is continually rejecting the association of spiritual light. The use of independence is the cause of his mysterious strife in the conditioned nature. Therefore, is always giving instructions from within and from without. From without, he gives his instructions as stated in Bhagavad Gita, and from within, he tries to convince the living entity that his activities in the material field are not conducive to real happiness. Just give it up and turn your faith towards me, then you'll be happy, he says. Thus, the intelligent person who places his faith in the Paramatma, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, begins to advance towards a blissful, eternal life of knowledge. Upadashtanamanta cha bharta bhokta maheshwara paramatma picha pyukto desmin purushapara. Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer who is the Lord, the Supreme Proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the Super Soul. So this is a very wonderful verse. It's also quite a famous verse, actually. And it really kind of for us, it really helps us to kind of define the understanding that there is not just us as souls, there is such a thing as a super soul. And this is something that we see throughout the Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna tells Arjuna again and again, that there is a super soul and there is you or us as individual souls. Okay, we are individual souls engaged in these material bodies, but along with us, there's also another being who's actually expansion of Krishna, the Super Soul, who's there with us. Every single body in this material world has its own individual soul, and next to the individual soul, there is a Super Soul, the Paramatma. So one of the things is mentioned here is that he is the enjoyer, right? He is the transcendental enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, and this is one thing we have to understand, that there is only one real enjoyer in this world, and that is Krishna. No one else, right? He is the one. They call him Purusha, right? They call him Purusha, means like the enjoyer. Once Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada was giving an interview in America, and this reporter actually asked Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, you know, you have, your movement has got so many regulations and rules. You don't do this, do that, don't do that, don't do this, all these kind of things, you know. Where's your sense of enjoyment? Where do you actually how do you enjoy yourselves? Right? I don't know if anyone heard this. Do you know what Prabhupada said in response? Does anyone know what Prabhupada said in response? Okay.
No, Prabhuji, we don't know. I don't know.
No problem, no problem. So, and remember, this is the 70s, right? 60s, 70s, when people are, it was the hippie times in America, right? So people it's all about free love and partying in and tripping out on LSD and acid and having these big hippie raves, all that kind of stuff, Beatles and, things like that, right? So people are really into having a good time then, so-called good time, of course. Prabhupada actually said to this reporter that actually I'm teaching them how to really enjoy. What is real enjoyment? Not the enjoyment you see around in society right now, but real enjoyment, okay? And then, so the understanding is this, that most people, when they look at enjoyment in this world, you know, it's generally related to, you know, the four things, right? Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, right? Okay, as human beings, we may do it in a bit more a fancy way than animals do, but it's the same thing. Like a dog will, you know, chew on a bone on the street, whereas a human being might eat in a nice fancy restaurant and think himself, I'm so civilized, but it's the same function, right? Or for example, a bird will make a nice nest, right? A nice nest in the tree to live in, right? But whereas a human being will live in a nice big mansion with marble floors and things like, and chandeliers, French chandeliers, and, you know, all that kind of like bling bling and stuff, and thinking, yeah, I'm so civilized. But guess what? It's the same thing. There's no difference in function here, right? Animals just mate left, right, and center wherever they want, right? In the jungle, in the desert, wherever, they just do it wherever. And for human beings, we have like romantic movies and love letters and poems to our beloved, but the function is actually the same thing, the same purpose, right? And then of course there's defending, right? Defending. Nowadays in the world, in politics, you have different countries with their big, big armies, weapons, nuclear warheads, and like tanks, missiles. But guess what? The function is the same as an animal with teeth and claws, right? You know, animals got sharp teeth, sharp claws, but it's the same thing. So we may dress it up in fanciful things, but the function is the same. So how does that differentiate human beings from animals? No different. Whether you live in a poor country or a rich country, whether you're in Africa, Europe, America, everyone's doing the same thing. You know, there's not that much difference between what people are doing to enjoy life in America or what they're doing to enjoy life in India. It's the same thing, really. That's not what makes us human, right? In the Bhagavad Gita, it's said in the introduction that the essence of life starts when you ask a key question. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Athato Brahma Jigyasa means, what is the meaning of Brahman, this supreme reality? Once a person asks that question, your human life starts. Until then, you are simply a two-legged animal. I'm not saying that Prabhupada said that, right? You are simply a two-legged animal. And that's, once you start asking that question, then you can understand what is the human body actually capable of in terms of enjoyment. And the more you get knowledge, the more you understand that actually our enjoyment, and this is a big paradigm shifter, because we think that enjoyment comes from gratifying our own senses. But what it's actually saying that when you serve someone else, that's where real enjoyment comes from, when you serve others, right? Now, this is interesting. We actually see this in life, right? When a boy loves a girl, you know, the real pleasure comes when the boy actually does something to make the girl happy. And you know, when the boy feels that he's making the girl happy, the boy feels good as well that, yeah, look, I can make my girlfriend happy, right? Similarly, when, for a mother to look after the child, when the mother satisfies the child, that's where real pleasure comes from for that mother. Sometimes a mother has to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, to pick up the child when the, little baby's crying, and through middle of the night, the mother has to comfort the baby. But actually it's because the mother loves that child and will do anything. That's a sign of love. That's real pleasure, when you actually serve others. But when you're in the material world, you serve others, you get a highest taste from it. Like people give their lives for their country. People give their lives for their family. Or for, like, I know, like in Kenya, you had your independence as well, right? You know, like in India, they had freedom from British independence. So Kenya, I understand they had a similar thing. they had revolutions like the Mau Mau revolution back in the day and all these kind of things happening. Why? Because you're trying to serve something bigger than yourself. You're trying to serve something that is more valuable than just your own little senses. Yeah, you got a bigger cause to live for. It gives a higher meaning to your life. But here's the thing. In the material world, even if you give your life for a higher cause, it's great. I mean, all glory is haribol to that. But the thing is this, it's the material world. Everything here is chapala sukha. It's temporary and it's limited. Even if you give yourself for your family, for your nation, for your society, it's nice, but it has a limited value to it. So what Prabhupada is saying, that if you want to experience real love, real pleasure, you give your life and you serve that person, that cause, which is eternal, which is everlasting. And that is basically serving Krishna. So therefore, we have to understand that by serving Krishna and giving him pleasure, we get a pleasure that is so much higher, so much more intense than anything that this world can give us. Some of you have probably heard of have you guys heard of, some of you may have heard of the 6 Goswamis, right? These are great, great saints, right? Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. And there's so many of these Goswamis. They had everything this material world can give. Beautiful wife, immense amounts of money, big, big jobs, big positions, everything. And even after experiencing everything this world can give at them, they still thought to themselves that, you know what, this is not enough. There has to be something deeper than this. So that's why even they decided, okay, you know what, let's go to Krishna. That's the only place, the only area, the only person that can actually give us a real fulfillment that doesn't decrease with time, that doesn't get tired with time, that actually increases exponentially more and more, right? The more you serve Krishna, the more pleasure you experience. So therefore, this is what Prabhupada is trying to teach us, that actually the Hare Krishna movement is there to help you experience real pleasure, okay? It's a deeper pleasure than what the material world can actually give you, okay? This material world is actually designed to frustrate. Yeah, padam padam yat vipadam. There is obstacles at every step in the material world. This material world is like a illusion. It's like a, I often give an example. I don't know if you have this plant in Kenya. I know Kenya is famous for its wildlife, of course. There is a plant called the Venus flytrap, right? It's basically like a claw, and the flies come and they get attracted by the nice looking plant and the smell, and they come and then basically the Venus flytrap snaps it like that and eats it. This is material world. We think it's going to be really good. I'm going to enjoy this place, but eventually it's going to suck you dry. So therefore, understand, where is real pleasure? Real pleasure lies in serving the real enjoyer. So in this case, the real enjoyer in this verse is actually the Purusha, right? The Purusha, and in this case, this is the super soul, Paramatma. If the Atma is in line with the Paramatma and serves the Paramatma instead of ignoring the Paramatma, then you will see how much fulfillment the Atma gets actually, okay? One of the things we have to understand actually is, before we go further with the verse, is for us to actually acknowledge and actually want to serve the Paramatma and want to actually surrender ourselves to Krishna, there is one key quality that we need in this world. And this is probably one of the key qualities you're going to need in your Krishna consciousness for everyone, whether you're a beginner or whether you're an experienced devotee. I'll give you a clue. It starts with H in English. It starts with H. What word am I talking about? It's one word and it starts with H, and it's the key quality you need. If you want to serve the enjoyer and advance in your Krishna consciousness, you need this quality.
Humility.
Yes.
Very good, Sandhya Mataji. Excellent. Very nicely said. In Sanskrit, known by various words like dainya. It's also known as amanitvam, right? This is a word which is so key. If there's any take-home message you take from today's session, just take home this one. Humility is the key quality you need. Once again, let's go back to Prabhupada. When before he was still in India as a pharmacist, as a grihastha, there was one customer that came to him who knew that he was a very, strong devotee of Krishna. And he said to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, what's your success? You're managing to, his name was not Prabhupada then, it was Abhay Charan. But he said to Abhay Charan, what's your success? You know, you're running a successful pharmacy, you're balancing all your family needs, and at the same time, you're so spiritually advanced and giving this Krishna to people. What's the secret of your success? How do you balance everything together? And Prabhupada said, you mean like a secret formula? And then a customer said, yeah, you're a chemist, right? You have formulas for everything. That's what chemists do, right? They have formulas. So he says, what's your formula for your success? Doesn't even know what the formula was. Any ideas? I'll give you, actually, it's interesting. I got a feeling for those of you who are here, who've been to the morning program, I'm pretty sure you are familiar with this formula because it's a formula that every ISKCON temple recites every morning in their morning program. Okay, so this formula, Prabhupada, was this Avinash Prabhu?
Trinadapi Sunichana Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari.
Very good, Avinash Prabhu. Avinash I know very well. He's one of our lot. The manner. Yes, Trinadapi Sunichana Taroiva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. This is one of the 8 direct teachings that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself gave, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave a lot of teachings through his disciples, but he didn't actually leave any written records himself of any direct teachings except for 8 verses, of which this is the 3rd one, right? And this verse is so important, right? One should chant the holy names of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street, more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige. In such a humble state of mind, one can chant the holy names of the Lord constantly. Interesting here, amana nina mana dena. Amana, man in Sanskrit means honor, right? One of the key things is don't expect honor. Don't look for honor. Don't look for status. Don't look for reputation. Don't look for prestige. Because at the end of your life, people may or may not remember what you've done, right? You're doing this for Krishna. Whatever you're doing in your life, serving Krishna, there's only one person that you need to be concerned about whether they remember what you've done, and that's Krishna. Because at the end of life, it's always just between you and Krishna, no one else. Devotees, even amongst devotees, sometimes devotees will have situations where one devotee is serving really hard and he's thinking, this Prabhuji did not recognize what I've done. Don't they know how much hard work I've done? I did this amazing, painting for this festival and no one said thank you to me or gave me a haribol or gave me a plate of baha, right? All this kind of thing. Doesn't matter. You're doing it for Krishna, right? So it's interesting actually that when this is the key thing, and even like when we try to understand that we have to surrender to Krishna, we have to actually surrender to the super soul within us and not just work independently, as the verse said, right? You have to first change your mindset. You have to change your state of mind, right? In this actually, Trinadapi Sunichena means actually having a humble state of mind, right? And then from there, it says Tarorapi Sahishnuna, which means that from having a humble state of mind, then you develop the strength to resist when people try and provoke you. When, provoke means that, like someone says something to us and our ego gets big. Like, who are you to say that to me? Who are you? Get away from me, that kind of thing, right? But this Tarorapi Sahishnuna means that you're resisting the urge to basically react to people like that. And then you have the next part, which is Amanina Manadena, right? That's when basically it's one step further now. You've gone from passively having a humble state of mind to then resisting the urge to react to other people. And then from there, you get to the stage of humbly approaching, right, the Vaishnavas and actually having that kind of like mood of not seeking anything from anyone and just surrendering to Krishna. If you have that mood, then it makes it so much easier to then acknowledge that there is a super soul right next to me in this body that I'm in right now, right? And I have to serve that body. I have to serve, not that body, not the body. We've been serving the body for many lives now, but serve that super soul within, okay? So this is just some understandings about the mentality we should have when we're actually approaching Krishna. And of course, the mentality we should have when we're actually trying to develop a relationship with the super soul within our bodies that we're in right now, okay? There's a story that's often said, an analogy, should I say, that the body, the super soul and the soul that are in the body is like two birds in a tree. Some of you must have heard of this one, right? They're like two birds in a tree. And there's one bird who's very calm, peaceful. And there's other bird that is jumping from branch to branch. And sometimes it jumps from one branch and it tastes the fruit. And sometimes the fruit is sweet and the bird is enjoying itself. And the other times that same bird is jumping to another branch and is eating bitter fruit. And it's not having a good time. It's like, ugh, yeah, not nice. And all this time, the other bird that's staying still is trying to guide that bird. Look, stop going from branch to branch and listen to what I have to say to you. What does the calm, peaceful bird represent? And what does the bird that is jumping from branch to branch, what does that bird represent? What do those two birds represent? Any thoughts?
The soul and the super soul.
Okay, which one's the soul, Prahlad?
The ones that's the soul is the one that eats the sweet and bitter fruit, enjoying himself, jumping from branch to branch. And the super soul is the one that's watching the other bird that's jumping from branch to branch.
Wonderful. Okay, Prahlad, stay with me there. I got a further follow-up question for you. When the bird that is jumping from branch to branch, sometimes it's tasting bitter fruit and sometimes sweet fruit. What do those fruits represent?
The fruits, I believe, represent the ups and downs of the material world.
Okay, very good. So the fruits represent the activities that we do in the material world. And when that bird experiences sweetness or bitterness, what does that represent? The taste that the bird experiences?
Bitterness, that is the suffering.
Very good. The karmic reactions, yeah? Very good. You're jumping from branch to branch and you're doing different activities, trying to think for yourself that, hey, I can enjoy this tree. The tree is based out in the material world, right? So you can see that the bird is trying to enjoy. And all this time, life after life, we're experiencing the karmic reactions of the good works we do, the materially good karma, right? The sukarma that we experience in life. And sometimes we experience the vikarmic reactions, the bad karmic reactions, the bitterness of our fruits that we do life after life. And all this time, we've got that calm, peaceful bird trying to guide us, trying to tell us life after life, look, relax, stop trying to go from branch to branch, stop trying to think that you can enjoy this place. You can't. You're gonna either get sukarma or vikarma, whichever karma you look at. Sukarma means materially good karma, vikarma means materially bad karma. Wherever karma you're getting, you're gonna be trapped in this tree, right? You're gonna be trapped in this tree all the time. Let me help you to bring you out of this karmic bondage. Let me help you to develop akarma. Get out of the karma. Go back home. Go get out of this tree and go back to the real home. This is that calm bird. This is what Super Soul has been trying to tell us life after life. We are that jumping bird. Now we're an opportunity to actually understand that, hey, hang on a minute. There's been this calm, peaceful bird next to me all this time, trying to guide me, and I've not listened to it life after life. Now's the time for us to listen to that calm bird, right? But to do that, we need to first understand that, you know what? We are not the doer. We are not the controller. And for that to happen, we need humility, right? So that's the key thing. Having a humble mindset will then enable us to actually then acknowledge that there is someone bigger than me here. This calm bird is actually a lot more powerful than I am, a lot more wiser than I am, and knows what he's talking about. I don't. That's I'm trapped here, suffering, which is probably why I came to Krishna consciousness in the first place, right? So far, so good. Is there any questions so far, any clarifications? Otherwise, I'll carry on for a bit. Okay, good, good. Right. In the verse, so few things here is mentioned that is talking about the actual Purusha, the super soul. He's the enjoyer. He's the overseer, the permitter. In other words, the individual soul really has one main authority, and that is to desire. Okay. We like to think we're in control. The fact is we're not. I have a friend right now, and they're in hospital, yeah? And they had a slip disc, and they've got some internal organ problems, right? And because of that, they're connected to a thing called a catheter, right? And they can't control their, like their bodily functions and things like that. And it's a very humbling position to be in, right? But they realize there's something that even just talking to them, it made me realize that actually we like to think we're in control and we can dominate this world. We have no idea how much we are actually affected by other factors. In the Bhagavatam, which is one of our other scriptures, it talks about how we actually don't even have control over our eyes blinking. There's actually like agents, like, these kind of demigod type agents who control your blinking, who control your bodily functions, who control how you move, even the way your arms move. I'm not even going to high level stuff like how you think and all that kind of stuff. That's high level. I'm talking just basic stuff, like just even moving your fingers. So the point is this, the soul, our individual soul, we can desire, right? But it's the super soul that actually sanctions, that decides whether that desire will come true or not. And that could be based on our karma. It could be based on whether you have the capacity to fulfill that desire in this life or not. Yeah. So he's a supreme proprietor, supreme overseer. And we have to understand there is a distinction there between us and the super soul. So Prabhupada mentions in the purport here that the monist philosophers, they think that the knower of the body is just one. They think there is no difference between individual soul and super soul, right? That's what Prabhupada's saying. But here it's very clearly made out there is a difference. There is two separate personalities in each body, our own personal soul and the super soul. Okay. And then in fact, Prabhupada goes on to say that the Lord says that he is represented by the Paramatma in every body. Okay. The Paramatma. So in other words, the Lord, Krishna himself is saying that I'm in everybody. Okay. It's not just that you're just there on your own. I'm there in everybody along with you. And his name is Paramatma, not Atma. So there's a difference there as well. Okay. It's interesting here as well. Prabhupada mentions that this super soul has legs and hands everywhere, whereas the individual soul doesn't. Bit of a confusing statement. Would anyone like to share any thoughts as to what that might mean? When Prabhupada says the super soul has legs and hands everywhere, but we don't. What do you think that means? Any ideas? Tricky one, huh?
Hare Krishna, can I guess?
Yeah, please do, Avnish Piru.
That means he is existing everywhere. He is everywhere regardless. So, he's here and there. We're taking an example of 16,190 wives. He was with every one of them at the same time. So just my guesswork there. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. It's pretty much the understanding is that the super soul, it may look like it's divided. So you got Krishna as Paramatma, and if he's in every single entity, if you're looking at materially, you might think to yourself that, does that mean that the super soul is divided into little pieces in each body? No, it's not divided. It's fully functional in its full power in each and every body. Okay, it's still the super soul is still one unified entity, Krishna, but is able to manifest fully in every single body. Okay, for the example is given that just like you have the sun is situated in the sky, and yet it's on each and everyone's head, right? Each one of us, I'm in England right now, and you can see behind me, there's a window, you can see the sunlight coming in, right? Now, I don't know what time it is in Eldoret now, 8 o'clock or something, 8:30?
Almost 9, Prabhuji.
Almost 9. I don't know if the sun is still up there, but okay, it's gone now. But you know, there's there'll be a time in the day when there'll be sun in Kenya and sun in England at the same time, few hours, right? There's going to be an overlap there. So hang on, it's not that the sun in Kenya is different from the sun in England. It's the same sun, right? But it's there above me and is there above you. It's the same way. The super soul is in each person's body, but it's the same super soul in your body and my body, expanded equally in every single body. That's Krishna. Human beings can't do that. We can't expand equally, right? If I'm here, I cannot be in Kenya at the same time, right? And if I try to put part of me in Kenya, like I can maybe try and chop my hand off and mail it to Kenya, but then I'm still less now here because I'm without an arm. But with Krishna, it doesn't work like that. He expands equally in full power wherever he is. Yeah, so that's something super soul can do, we can't do, okay? And actually, it goes on to say other things. The individual soul is maintained. The super soul is a maintainer. Do you know the difference, yeah, between maintainer and maintained? We can't maintain ourselves as much as we like to think we do. Everything we're doing in life, how much money we own, how intelligent we are, how powerful we are, everything is actually based on our karmic reaction. There is nothing we can do to change that. I mean, unless, of course, we take to Krishna consciousness, in which case Krishna can, take away our karma. But even then, we have to surrender. Whereas the individuals, the super soul maintains everyone. So therefore, when monists means like Mayavadis, when monists say that, it's actually dangerous because they're basically saying that there's only one soul, and indirectly what they're trying to say is that we are God. Whereas actually what Prabhupada said is again and again is don't ever fall into that trap of thinking you are God, right? 90% of spiritual philosophy right now in the world will say we are one. It's all one. But actually Prabhupada is very clear. No, there is a difference between us and God. When you say that, if people, when they say we are one, actually it's another form of atheism. Because if you're saying that I'm God, you're God, Krishna's God, well, you're saying there is no such thing as God, right? If you think about it, you're saying there is no God because we're all God. You're taking the role out of someone being God. Whereas here, Prabhupada is saying that no, there is a person who's different from us and he's there within us, looking after us, okay? So yeah, that's also another very important understanding to have. The verse also, I'm conscious of the time. I know I've got 5 minutes left here. So another thing that's actually talked about here is that the relationship between the living entity and the super soul, and how the soul, the individual soul, is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is an interesting one. Prabhupada talks about how the living entity is a marginal energy of the Lord. Okay, so I'm going to go a little philosophical here. It's said that Krishna, actually listen to this carefully. Krishna has got 3 types of energies, right? He's got 3 types of energies. One of his energies is what is called the Antaranga Shakti. This is the internal energy. Antar means inside, right? Then he's got his Bahiranga Shakti. So, they say, for example, Bahir Narasimha Dev, was it Bahir Narasimha Ho, Hidaya Narasimha Ho. Narasimha Dev is inside the heart, Hidaya, and Bahir. Bahir means he's outside as well. So same way, Krishna's got an inside energy and he's got an outside energy. He's got his Antaranga Shakti and his Bahiranga Shakti. Maybe some of you have heard of this. these two types of Shaktis. The internal energy is Krishna's spiritual energy. It's eternal. It's all blissful. It's all knowing. And all the entities in the energy are eternal. You know, Satchitananda, right? Yeah, they're always full of eternity, full of knowledge, full of bliss. I'm talking about Golok Vrindavan. I'm talking about the spiritual world, the Gopas, the Gopis, Krishna's intimate associates. These are all part of Krishna's internal energy. Perfection there. It's perfection. Then you've got his external energy. This is the material energy. It's actually very inferior. And in fact, it's known as the inferior energy. It's dull. It's inert. It's limited, right? It really has no life of its own. It's basically matter, like, yeah, just matter. In between these two, there is an energy called the Tathastha Shakti. So what we've done so far, we've got Antaranga Shakti, the internal energy, Bahiranga Shakti, the external energy, and we've got the Tathastha Shakti, which is the marginal energy. This is the borderline energy. This is the energy that is between the spiritual and the material. Question for you guys. Where are we? Where do we fit into these three energies? Are we the internal energy? Are we the external energy? Or are we the marginal energy? What's your thoughts? Maybe not Partha Prem Prabhan Kirtika Mataji. Let the others answer because I'm sure they'll, you guys will probably know this.
May I?
Please do, Mother Rupa, Mataji.
Yeah, we are marginal energy.
Very good, very good. And why are we the marginal energy? Why do you say that?
Because we are the soul and Krishna is the super soul. He is the external, internal and external energy, and we are the marginal energy. We are the very, very small particle of the super soul and the energy. So we are the marginal energy, as I know.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Mother Rupa Mataji. Yes, so we are the marginal energy because actually the Tathastha Shakti, we are superior to material matter. We are superior to the Bahiranga Shakti, the external energy. However, we are not internal just yet because whilst we're marginal, we can get dominated. We allow ourselves to get dominated by the external energy. We allow ourselves to be forgetting our actual spirituality. And because of that, we can get dominated. But the internal energy never gets dominated, okay? The Antaranga Shakti of Krishna never gets dominated by the external energy, the Tathastha Shakti, but the Bahiranga Shakti. But the middle, the borderline energy, the Tathastha Shakti, that can get dominated. That's us. We are in that category. So we are actually superior to the material world around us, believe it or not. But because we forgot our spirituality, we are going round and round, life after life, getting dominated left, right, and center by the modes of nature, by our karma, by everything. So therefore, the individual soul has to transfer to the internal energy, right? We have the ability to go from Tathastha to Antaranga. We have the ability to go from being marginal to being part of Krishna's internal energy. That's where we want to get at. That's where we want to go. That's our goal, our prayojana, right? That's where we want to actually attain. But we can't do it by ourselves. So therefore, we have the knowledge, we have the practices, we have the mantras to help us. We've got the association of devotees to help us. But first and foremost, before any of that, we need to also have that humility to acknowledge we are not the doer. We are not the overseer. We are not the permitter. We are not Param, right? We are simply Atma. There is a Paramatma. We're not that. We have to develop that relationship with the Paramatma. And that comes with Trinadapi Sunichena, Tararapi Sahishnuna, Amananina Manadena, Kirtanya Sadahari. Okay, so I'm going to finish up here. I'll just finish off on Mataji, is it okay? Just one more point I can just mention.
Yes, Prabhu, you can take 10 more minutes.
You know, this is quite a philosophical verse, and I was actually like a bit like, oh my God, this is such a philosophical verse. And I don't know who are here, like, you know, like it's quite complicated and stuff and everything. Sometimes when we come to Krishna consciousness, we may think to ourselves, okay, this is great. I understand that I'm not in control. There is a controller and I have to connect with this controller. I have to develop a humble mindset and everything like that. And I have to understand the knowledge. But you know what? I'm not that qualified. I'm not that clever. I'm not that well-read. I'm not that educated. I don't have so much ability. I can't sing very well. I can't do kirtans. I'm not a good student. Anything like that, right? Sometimes we may have this. I can't even understand the philosophy properly. But here's the thing, right? If you are humble and you serve Krishna with humility, no matter what your limitations, Krishna will give you the ability to come to him no matter what, right? No matter who you are. Once, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was traveling to South India. I think he was in a place, I think it was Srirangam, I think. Anyway, and there was I'm sure the famous story, some of you know this, there was an illiterate Brahmana, right? And he was amongst other Brahmanas there. And you know, Brahmanas are meant to be very scholarly. They know thousands of slokas and this and that, you know, very paka type people. And he was illiterate. He couldn't read or write, nothing. So then all the other Brahmanas would take the mick out of him. They would like, you know, insult him like, you know, who is he? What's he doing? You know, just can't even read. And he was looking at the Bhagavad Gita and crying. He was crying. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said to that illiterate Brahmana that, why are you crying? And this literate Brahmana says, my Lord, I'm looking at Krishna and he's driving the chariot of Arjun. And I'm crying at the love that the Lord himself, the supreme Lord of all the universes, has for his devotee, that he's putting himself in a position of servant just to drive the chariot for his own devotee, bhakta, for his own bhakta. This is like bhakta vatsal bhav, you know? And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he looked at everyone and he said, he's understood the philosophy. Yeah? So the main thing is he had a humble attitude and he's appreciating the mood, right? This illiterate Brahmana had the perfect mood. Mood is everything when it comes to Krishna consciousness. Having a humble mood. It's not just about being a scholar, right? Even in the Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma himself says, right? What did he say? Advaitam achutam anadim ananta rupam adya Purana Purusha Navayovanamcha Vedesho Dullabha Adullabham Atma Bhakto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Vedesho Dullabham Adullabham Atma Bhakto. Those who are very, very qualified in the Vedas, they may externally seem like they're close to me, right? But they're actually very far, as opposed to my bhaktas. Vedesho Dullabham Adullabham. Dullabham Adullabham means that they actually seem close, but they're actually dur, they're actually far away. Whereas those who are my bhaktas, they are the ones that can actually access me, right? And of course, you know, you must have gone through Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, verse 10. 10. Tesam satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupayantite. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I'll give them the understanding by which they can come to me. So I guess the take-home messages from today for this verse, 1323, is acknowledging that there is not just one soul in a body, there is two. There is a super soul and there is a soul. The super soul is the actual enjoyer, the overseer, the permitter, the maintainer. The individual soul is simply maintained. The individual soul can simply desire, and the individual soul has the desire, can actually then utilize that desire to try and connect with that super soul and serve the super soul, have faith in the super soul, and then through that attain a life of bliss, a life of knowledge. And how does one attain that serving mentality? By developing a mood of humility, right? A mood of humility and sincerity. And that comes from knowledge and practice. The more you understand the philosophy and the more you practice it with the devotees, that humility will come more and more. Knowledge and practice helps to develop humility, which will then help us to develop that connection and relation to the super soul, which will then help us to advance in our Krishna consciousness. Yeah, I think I'll finish there. Yeah, that's it really. Thank you so much. Kirtika Mataji, over to you.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for enlightening us, and the basic concepts that have been in our mind that are not clear and it looked like undoable has been clarified today. In fact, a few of the concepts that I had, like for example, I thought the super soul has many hands and legs. I was imagining super soul with many hands so he could multitask and things like that. But now I've understood that super soul has many legs and hands, meaning that he can be in everybody at the same time and in the same position. So thank you for that clarification. Sorry, Prabhu.
No, I was going to say, it's interesting you said that. See, Krishna is beyond our material understanding. If Krishna wants to have many hands and legs in one form and multitask, he can as well. As well as also expanding us equally in every single body. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there was one time when, you know, when Mahaprabhu shows his Sadbhuj form, his six-handed form. So he can do that. Or he can be in his two-handed form, but whatever it is, he can perform every single function equally in any form. That's his power, which we can never replicate. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu, for clarifying that. It's really wow factor here today. And Prabhu, another point that was clarified is that the soul has the free will. So if I want to go and hit somebody, for example, and the super soul is saying, no, you don't do that, don't do that. But I have the free will saying, okay, you are saying no, but I want to go and hit this person. I'm going to go and do it. So the emphasis is doing, we are the doer in the sense of with the free will. And yet we have the super soul with us. Prabhu, if you can just elaborate a little bit on that about the free will, I'll appreciate. And then
yeah, thank you. That's a very good question, actually. Okay, we have some. So it says that, you know, oh, this is a classic question. That is our life, is it guided completely by fate and karma, or is it guided by free will? Generally, you'll find it's interesting, right? You know, when you go to Western countries like, you know, Europe, America, England, where we are, it's the, you know, the mood is very much Purusha Bhav, because, you know, like Europe has it's ruled the world for 200 years probably, right? So they have that mood that, you know, we are in control, we are the controllers. Now it's probably changing a bit because, you know, political situation changes, but at least in Britain, you know, they've had this mood for many years. So they think that everything's free will, right? If we work hard and we'll get the result. You go to a lot of Eastern countries, like India and stuff, often it's the opposite. Chalta hai. Yeah, whatever happens, it happens, because, you know, everything's ordained. You know, I'm not going to do anything extra because it's all kind of like, you know, working. Actually, we're kind of like between fate and free will. A lot of what we do is guided by our karma. But even within the karmic factors, the modes of nature, karma, all these things, they affect how we think, what we do, how long we're going to live, what kind of people we're going to associate with, often how much money we're going to get, what kind of people we're going to marry. You know, a lot of it is guided. But even with this in place, we still have some minute freedom to make certain, when we have choices in life, to decide whether we want to go with choice A or choice B, right? What we'll find, however, also is that within human beings, some humans have more freedom than others. And that's due to modes of nature. The lower you are in the modes of nature, In other words, the more you're in mode of ignorance, the less free will you have. So for example, you know, like a person who's like an alcoholic, if he's like surrounded by lots of drinks, his free will to refuse those drinks is going to be compromised. Whereas the higher you go up in the modes, like mode of goodness, where if he's surrounded by drinks, he'll probably still have control whether he wants a drink or not have a drink, right? Because he's more higher up in the modes. The modes does affect how much free will you have to make choices in your life, okay? So it's not as simple as everyone's got equal level of free will. That's not the case, right? It is guided by your modes of nature, which in turn is guided by your karma, because your karma will then determine what kind of mode of nature combination you've got now, okay, in your life. However, there is one choice which all human beings have, regardless of what mode of nature you're in, and that is a choice whether you turn towards Krishna or towards Maya. That's one choice that every single person have, and that is probably the most important choice that human beings we've got, right? All the other choices are conditional, but that's one choice that we can make in our lives that actually everyone has the right to, okay? Now, in terms of what you said about, okay, so we can decide to do what we want. You mentioned about, let's say, if I hit someone, right? But you see, I may desire to hit someone, but whether I hit that person or not is also down to whether I've got the adhikar to hit, right? Because, you know, we may have the power to hit someone or do something, have that power to do something to someone, or we may not. That's also curtailed by our karma, right? Sometimes you see like these, you know, big dictators who can kill loads of people, right? That's because they've got that karma from previous life where they've built up that level of power. They can impact on people's lives like that. You got other people who may want to do lots of things, but they're restricted. Like you might get a simple person who wants to walk, but he can't because he's in a wheelchair. So even if you desire, it's not just that you desire to do something, you can do it. It's also based on whether you've got the capacity to do it as well, which is based on your karma. But here's the thing though, whether you desire to do this or whether you've got the qualification to do this, Krishna as a super soul will try and tell you what is the right thing to do, right? Whether you have the capacity to hit someone, not hit someone, Krishna may tell you don't hit. Whether you can hit him or not, that's not the point. Don't hit him, right? Because even if you hit him now, you're going to get bad karma for it. So Krishna's trying to tell us that, look, abstain from all these things and just follow what I tell you to do. Our issue is that we don't. But thing is, Krishna is never going to force us either. Krishna will tell us again and again and again what is the right thing to do, but he'll never ever force us, because Krishna does not want to force us to do anything. He wants our love, right? There's some, like we said, you know, that there's some Satata Yuktanam verse, right? If you serve Krishna with love, then you can get to him, right? That's all he wants from us. But love can never be forced, right? You know, you can put a gun to someone's head and say, love me, love me, love me. And they'll put their hands and say, okay, I love you. But they're not going to really mean it in their hearts, isn't it? Right? So Krishna, if he wants to, he can do anything. He can, like, you know, just click his hands and the whole world can finish. But that's not what he wants. He wants, love can come from free will. He wants us to want to go to Krishna, right? He wants us to go to him out of our own free will. So that's the reason why we ignore him. And sometimes people may say, why doesn't Krishna, if he's so powerful, why didn't he just make me go to him? Because he doesn't want to make you. He wants you to come to him out of your own free will. That's the key here. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Prabhuji, it does. Thank you very much. Prabhuji, there are two more questions before we wrap up. I know we have eaten up on your time, Prabhuji, but kindly. So there was a question from Sandhya Mataji. Mataji, are you still there? If not, then Vishaka Mataji can ask the question.
Yes, Mataji, I'm there. Sorry, my battery had ran out and I ran a mile quickly to put it in the wall to charge it. Prabhuji, I just want to ask you one question. If we have this free will, Krishna knows everything. Does he even know that what choice we'll make out of our free will? Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, that's a complex question. He does on one level, but on another level, he still gives you choices and gives you that free will to make up your own mind as well. So what it is like, you have this thing like in modern terminology, like multiple realities, right? You have like multiple realities where based on choice you make, then, you can take a certain path and then, you go down that path and you come to more choices and then it expands into more realities that you can choose. It's the same thing with Krishna, is that, yes, he on one level, he knows, but he still gives you the autonomy to still make up your own mind. And because he gives you autonomy, he allows you to make your own choice without him interfering in what you want to do, right? And then based on the choice you make, then he can present more options for you to what you want to do.
But Prabhuji, yeah, but does Krishna know what choice we will make?
He can know what choice he makes, but he also allows you to make it without him interfering in it and not having to like predict it either. If that makes sense, right? He can make choices, but then it's almost like he can, let's say he can predict what kind of choice you make, but then he can also take a step back and not foresee what you want to make and allow you to make it without any of his own foresight into it.
I see. Okay, Prabhuji, I have to think about this. Thank you.
I
Prabhuji.
know it's, yeah.
Thank you. I'll be thinking tonight. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Do so, please.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for inspiring Sandhya Mataji and all of us, Prabhuji. Vishaka Mataji has a question. Mataji, kindly unmute and ask your question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. My question was related to Sandhya Mataji, that if he knows our choices, we have that free will, but he knows what choice we are going to make. Fair enough. And as you said, we may be given few, along the line, depending on what we may make allowance to couple of choices and end up somewhere. But now the whole point of getting closer to Krishna is you're showing your love to him. Yeah, how much you love him, so that that's how much you progress, and obviously that may be your endeavor. Now if he knows your endeavor and your choice, that relationship, it's like if you know somebody is going to love you this much, then that there is no novelty about it. You see? So how, if he knows how we are going to end, what we are going to do, then what that relationship? Yeah.
No, because I was thinking about also what Sandhya Mataji is saying, and I think your question is also on a similar line here. I remember years ago, I remember Shiva Maharaj said this once, right? When Krishna interacts with the living entities, he interacts with them with his consciousness on two levels. One is on the overseeing level, meaning the all-powerful, omnipotent personality that knows everything and everything and everything about everything, right? But there's another level of consciousness of Krishna which interacts with you on a very personal, intimate level. You can almost say like a human being. The more you personally reciprocate with Krishna, that personal level of consciousness is what interacts with you more. Not the overseeing, the chit, the all chit potency. It's more the kind of intimate, loving potency that interacts with you. In that interaction, Krishna allows himself to actually have, I don't know what's the word best to do. Okay, I'm going to just use this word for now because it's the best way I can express this. He allows himself to not be fully knowing in what you're going to do, and allows himself to not be fully cognizant of what you're going to do. That way, he gives you the full choice of what choices you want to make to come to him without him predicting and what you're going to do. That way, when he does give you that love, it's like spontaneous love. It's not like it's all set piece love. I'll give an example. When Sita Devi got abducted by Ravana in the Ramayana, right? Lord Ram cried a lot. For those of you who know Ramayan, you know that he cried a lot. Sometimes people say that, hang on, why did Lord Ram cry? If he's like Lord, then should he know that, yes, of course, Ravana's going to adapt my wife and I'm going to go and get Sita back and, Haribol, it's all planned out. I've done this so many times. I'm the Lord. I know what to do, right? It's not like that. His all-knowing potency is there, right? Which knows everything and everything. But when he is Lord Ram, he's feeling that pain. He's not seeing himself as the Lord. He's seeing himself simply as Sita's lover, Sita's husband. So he's feeling the full pain of the fact that his wife had just been taken, right? Even like you see, when they have these Leelas in Vrindavan where Radharani is like separated from Krishna, and this like that, and then Krishna's crying and all this kind of stuff. It's not that Krishna's pretending, okay, I'm the Lord. Yes, I know Radharani's gone, but I know where exactly she is, but I'm going to pretend I'm crying now. It's not like that. He's actually feeling like crying, So the point is that the more, they say, Yeya tamam prapadyante tamsteva bhajamyaham, right? The more you reciprocate with Krishna, the more he reciprocates with you. The more you have a personal relation with Krishna, the more he basically relegates his omnipotency and his all-knowing potency. So he's basically putting himself in a relationship with you with the unknown factor in place. So that if you were to make choices, he's not predicting it. He's actually just allowing himself to not predict what you're going to do so that he sees you fully of your own accord make that choice. And it's that form of Krishna that is reciprocating with you when you make those choices to come to him. Your own free will that is actually doing it without him predicting it. I hope that gives a...
Yes, it does, Prabhuji. Now I've understood it because I was confused with knowing the choice and then what's the difference.
Yeah. But this is the thing with Krishna. This is why it's inconceivable. On one hand, he's got that personal one where then he can relegate his omnipotency to have that personal human-like relationship with the unknown factor in place, right? Which makes it real, the surrender real. But at the same time, he's also got his Vishwa potency, like the big one, the one who knows everything as well. That's also going on as well. So it's like, it's all happening all at the same time. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Vishaka Mataji, I hope you are satisfied.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
I really apologize for the lengthy class today, but it was so interesting. No one has batted their eyelids. So it is 9:30 in Kenya here in Eldoret. I'll hand over to Path Prabhuji, who will close the session. Prabhuji, over to you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. It's a great privilege you are here and giving a good lecture. Nice. It is very interesting. Also, this chapter is very nice. It is knowledgeable, all the full of knowledge, the soul, super soul you are described. And you also describe how there is everybody, there is two soul, like one is soul and one is super soul, and how the soul is entangled in the material desires, and he's suffering in happiness and distress in this according to his karma. And always the super soul as Upadrashta and Anumanta, it means he is the observer and also sanctioner. He is sanctioning everything according our desire, according our, like they are telling, the free will. We have the free will, like it is very connecting things. Like we are the marginal potency, the Tatastha. We are in the margin. We maybe go to the Bahiranga or maybe going to the Antaranga. That is depend upon us. So it's very nice you are telling also. Also you are giving the Prabhupada's answer about what is the real happiness. Also you are describing the three, already I told the three energy and giving very nice answer of the questions. We are so grateful on behalf of ISKCON Eldoret. I thanks to you. Thanks for your time and also giving the wonderful lecture. Also, I thanks all the devotees who joined here in this wonderful session. I thanks to all. I request everyone, please unmute yourself and chant Hare Krishna mantra for glorification of His grace. Prabhuji, please join. Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Hare Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Vancha
Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Fresh Niskanchana Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Hari Bol. Thank you.
Hari Bol.
Thank you so much. Thank
Hare
you for having me. Hope to maybe in the future serve you more, and I hope to maybe see you in person as well in
Yes,
the
yes.
not too soon future. Hare Krishna. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Thank
Haribol.
Thank you, Haribol. Prabhuji, I'll contact you when you have the time next to come again on the.
Yes, sure. No problem. No problem. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.